Hi, everyone. Welcome back. For those of you returning to listen to video three, videos one and two, the links are below in the description box. And for those of you new, please don't forget to watch videos one and two so you can catch up with us. But you're welcome to stay. Come on in, cop a squat, take a listen. I will be reading from my book, From Broken to Becoming, and this is my Vidable Journey. We left off last video on page 15 at the very bottom. It is the beginning of the last paragraph on this page. Okay, so when I got back to Washington, I had a couple of days until our trip to Guam would happen. So my husband and I went shopping to find Jerry clothes that he would wear during the viewing and the last respects during his service. My husband tried on several suits for Jerry. It was a sobering reminder at how precious life was, and our petty differences were long forgotten in those moments. He helped me through the hard stuff, the necessary stuff. I was about to clothe my brother in the last thing he would wear on this earth, and had my husband not been with me, I could not have done it. I wanted to give Jerry something he would be proud to wear, something brand new, without worry about money. If only I gave that to him when he was alive, but he was gone. And this was all I could offer, a day late and a dollar short. Chapter 4 Through the Eyes of a Child. My sister and I arrived on Guam to be greeted by my brother Gilbert. It was a bittersweet reunion because I was so happy to see Gil, but one of us was missing. We had such a long embrace filled with love and sorrow, and it lasted long enough for me to feel all the years we missed together. It has always been our thing as a family to laugh about anything and everything. The four of us together could laugh about everything for hours, about everything and nothing all at the same time. We tried to keep that going during our reunion and the time following our arrival. But the heaviness of our missing brother hung over us and changed our laughter to the unseen tears of our silent cries. When we finally arrived at my mom's house, the house and yard were full of people there to pray for my brother. In my culture, we hold 9 days of public prayer and gathering to allow everyone to come together in mourning for the deceased. There were people we grew up with that I had not seen for years, present to pay their respects. I walked numbly through the crowd, extended my thanks for them being there, and gave all those who needed a hug from me a hug. But inside, I was screaming, "Get out!" I wanted to be alone with my family, to talk with my mom and my brother and my sister and all the kids. It was hard to be there. I didn't know how to be there. I didn't know how I made it through, but I did. When I saw my mom, I went forward to hug her. But just like me, she pulled out her reserves and became a statue of strength for the crowd and for us. There was no breaking through the wall that night, if ever. But I could see the devastation in her eyes, and though I wanted desperately to comfort her, I knew there could be none. She was Jerry's rock, and he was hers. And now he was gone. Gone from her sight and gone from her embrace, and she would never be the same. Family on my dad's side was there with my dad, and I could see that he was broken by my brother's death. But we had been estranged for many years, and I didn't really have it in me to comfort him. Looking back on it now, I wish I had. But there were still many unsettled hurts from my childhood that I held on to, and part of my brother's struggle in life I still held against my father. This was all too much, but I am my mother's daughter and have the same persona of strength that I can muster when the moment calls for it. My bravado broke the moment I saw his kids, though. I cried as they all surrounded me and held on to me so tightly. I could feel their little hearts breaking, and I broke beneath the weight. I knew that I had to hold it together for them. I had to bring the joy back to them while I was there. I had to be the light that they needed to get through the first tragedy that they would have to face. From that moment on, and throughout the entire trip, they never left my side, no matter what. They must have known that I needed them as much as they needed me. And together we would make it through the first days of experiencing this painful loss. I am the godmother for all my brother's children, both brothers. In fact, I have a deep connection with them, no matter what. And this was clear to me as all the kids surrounded me. I had to be the strong one again. As the crowds died down and just family remained, I was asked again what I wanted to be done with my brother Jerry, whether a burial or cremation should be had. I didn't want the responsibility of that choice, but I had to choose anyway. I went based on something my brother said in passing years before. If he ever died, he didn't want to make a big deal out of it, and he didn't want to rot in the ground. Though I wanted to have him buried and my mother wanted to have him buried, I kept hearing his voice and his words, and so I opted for cremation. That was the hardest decision I ever had to make. And because I couldn't make that decision on my own, I fell back on his own words to me years before. I still struggle with that decision, as I still struggle with the story that he took his own life. But something kept pushing me to look beyond that and be the peacemaker amidst the sorrow and make the choices he needed me to make for him. The emotions were so high on all sides, from the kids to his wife and eldest son to my mom to myself. There were arguments, accusations, and competition over everything. It was a whirlwind of escalated emotions, harbored hate, and secret suspicion from us all. From what I knew of my brother's death, is that he had been arguing with his oldest son, and then his wife, and there were words that were said to him that brought him past the point of even trying anymore. I was told that he went out into the jungle in the middle of the storm and never came home. They got worried and sent out a search party into the jungle hills, and that's how they found him, hanging from a tree, his knees to the ground. How do you hang yourself and fall on your knees? Your body would automatically fight that. I didn't find this part out until after the funeral. Maybe that's why I kept hearing his voice over my own. I kept feeling the push to do what he wanted me to do, but still, he was on his knees. They said it was suicide. I just cannot see that. And so I had always harbored a secret suspicion that there was more to his death than anyone would ever admit. But I kept hearing his voice that all he wanted was peace and forgiveness. And so it took every last ounce of goodness in me to push myself to find forgiveness in myself for anyone I felt responsible for all this. I don't know where the strength, forgiveness, and peace came from, but I know that it was not my own. But even more so, that it was there when I needed it. And as I faced the days leading up to and after the funeral, I needed it more than ever. We spent the next few days cooking, cleaning, and preparing for the nightly rosary. We stayed busy with everything, and this helped to keep us focused and off the firing range. When we weren't cooking or cleaning, we were out shopping for everything that would be needed for the evening and for the funeral. I was also asked to prepare the eulogy, and I'm so grateful that I would be the one to do this. It was such an honor to relate who my brother really was to those that only knew him on the surface. Though it was a difficult thing to do, I did it from the heart, and it was perfect to me. I also created a slideshow of every picture I could get my hands on from anybody and everybody that had pictures, then put a song list together for the service. Although each picture broke my heart a little more, there was also some healing in each picture, each song, and each word that would be the expression of our love and our loss to those who would gather with us to mourn the death of our beloved brother, son, and father. The funeral was beautiful. The place was full of people coming to pay their last respects to Jerry. It was so packed that not everybody could make it inside the building. The cars were lined up the roadway as far as the eye could see. There were dignitaries, people from our childhood, family, friends, and people that I had never met. I never did make it outside, though, but I heard that it was an amazing sight during the last prayers. A huge double rainbow appeared above the funeral home. I wish I had seen it that day. It would have been like I was there as he said goodbye. When the services were over, they needed two people to witness the cremation. So I went in with his eldest son. I watched them put my brother in the furnace, and I felt every memory I had of him go into the fire. The only thing I remember feeling was my heart squeezing within itself as the last of my brother went into flames. I will never forget that moment, though I had learned at some point to bury the memory deep in the recesses of my mind and my heart. Over the years, this memory would creep out and overwhelm me. The memory of holding the hand of his son, who stood there stoic and silent and void as we watched my brother burn. The rest of my trip home was a blur, with the exception of the time I got to spend with all the kids. They ate with me, slept with me, and cuddled up against me. I remember drawing faces on their chins and having them lay upside down as I recorded them talking. This would be the last real laugh that his kids had for many, many years to come. It was the laughter that they needed, that I needed. It was the best moment I had back home, where pieces of me still lay unsettled and broken. Pieces of me went up in flames and became ashes of the strength I once carried, ashes of the joy I once gave out, and ashes of a love that fueled my purpose. Love for family, love for laughter, love for overcoming all that we had overcome together. My reserves burnt in that furnace, and I wasn't sure how I would maintain who I was when so much of who I was had been defined by what we had been through together. No one will truly understand the traumas of our childhood, nor the strength it took for each of us to survive the memories in our childhood. No one will truly understand the cord that kept us close, despite the distance in time and miles. But it was also the cord that kept us bound in shared sorrow. It was through this bond that my bond with his children was birthed, developed, and cherished above all the forces that wanted to keep me in unforgiveness, bitterness, and anger. It was this bond that built a love within me that extended to his next generation, his legacy, his pride. His children represented the love and connection that I needed as I clung to my brother, who was no longer there. Take care of my babies was all I could hear from him after he left this earth. I wanted to take them home with me, protect them, and care for them the way my brother had always wanted to, tried to, and gave every part of himself to do. Their mom wouldn't let them go, which was understandable considering the loss they were all facing already. The only way that she would consider it is if I took her eldest son first, and once he was settled, we would send for them all. This was my hope anyway. This was all I had to cling to. The promise that I would take care of his kids for him was the only hope I had to bridge the gap between our worlds now. So I am going to stop here. This video is going to be a little bit shorter than the rest, maybe because, I don't know. Um, hmm. If I go into the next section of the video or next section of the book, it is, it's going to be a little trying for me. So maybe I will. No, I'll start that tomorrow. That'll be the story of Gilbert. So we will wait until tomorrow and keep this video short. And I do hope that you come back and follow me on the rest of this journey. So, anyway, thank you for dropping in. Thank you for taking a listen. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking and subscribing and supporting this channel. If you have any questions, all my contact details are in the box below. And until next time, take care and always choose happy. Toodles.